set up a double kill for Yellowpete by going to that bottom lane and just picking up very good dives, very good ganks, things that we had not seen him doing for several weeks. So we'll see if we can repeat that performance in this matchup.
Well, we have the picks and bans coming through. Malphite and Zac being taken away. Zac, of course, was a champion used by Snoopeh earlier on today. Elise and Fizz being banned out. Fizz, 100% banned so far today.
I think that's the third ban.
Is it the third?
I think it's missed 1 or 2 games, but it's many, many games. Interestingly, it's one of the most
It's actually
most
a game against Czaru, so Czaru's clearly been hitting it hard in the practice, I believe. Elise being taken away from Kubon. Kubon was playing it and actually did very well in the top lane against Darian, but the rest of his team weren't quite on the same page.
In terms of the bans, you've seen Malphite and Zac that are in theory targeted at Wickd, but we did see Snoopeh playing Zac earlier. Shen as well, another champion that Snoopeh and Wickd can play. But Aatrox is open. And I think right now, Wicked's going to be saying want, and I mean,
look at that.
That is as quick as it gets. That is as quick as that sort of lock-in can get.
Well, I don't think Mio Makers were paying much attention to the game earlier. Maybe they're focused on their setup, but
maybe Sona. I would think Aatrox Sona would be a good lock-in here. Krepo had a very good game on Sona earlier today. It's kind of a weird one because Thresh is locked in, you're not at threat of losing that Sona, so EG may put priority on another champion, maybe the likes of an Ari or an Orianna or something like that, that's fairly universal in the mid lane, and it also denies it from Czaru. So I think this is what they're talking about right now. What is more important? Denying a champion securing another lane, or not revealing anything and locking the support? And
you got to look at, obviously, what junglers, possibly Mokatte plays. Doesn't really play a Jarvan, so don't need to maybe steal that one away. Could leave it out there.
Yeah.
He's run the Nocturne a couple of times, actually, lately. And, it may be the Vayne for Pete. Pete has played some fantastic Vaynes over the last few weeks. And like you mentioned in the opening setup there, he really has stepped his game up a lot lately.
Yeah, Pete in particular has really sort of impressed me as the season has gone on. He's transitioned, picked up a couple different champions, didn't die in his match earlier today, and his Vayne mechanics are particularly good. I don't want to overhype it because let's be very honest, every EU LCS AD carry that's played Vayne has been impressive because these guys are LCS pros, you know what I mean? It's not like they're mechanically lacking. So I really like that pickup. They did go with Sona at the end, and Jax was locked in. Yeah,
Jax locked in alongside Twitch, so Twitch taken away. That's something that Candy Panda went big on earlier on today, but Jax being picked.
That is a brilliant pick against Aatrox. Aatrox, who is auto-attack reliant, he does have abilities to supplement those auto-attacks, but it's predominantly right-click damage. And all Jax is going to do is pop on his Counter-Strike, sit there and say, what you gonna do?
Hit me.
Exactly. So I think
that's me swinging my bat and thinking.
I think that's a very good counter pick, but because it's champions that we don't see super often, I don't actually know how they're going to match up. What I don't think Wicked's going to do in this game, he's not going to be full force, I want a 1v1. He may want to go for the lane switches in this particular matchup.
We'll see. Kassadin's been hovered over for a long time. We've got 10 seconds left on these picks. Looks like it will be Vayne this time around. As Snoopeh could be taking the dog in the jungle. We'll see whether Nasus does get locked in. Of course, the Kassadin may well have been a bait to say, yeah, guys, you want to take this? Because it is a champion that Froggen has taken lately, but it would make no sense to pick it right now.
And it's also what Czaru played earlier as well. Yeah. So, you know, it's one of these psychological mind games where they're thinking about it. It makes your opponent think, hey, should we lock this in? Do we really want this?
Wakey, wakey, Makler.
The thing that I do like about Nasus is it works against both Jax and Twitch. You throw that Wither down, and again, Jax very reliant on his auto attacks. He needs to get multiple hits up to be able to get that ultimate damage on every third attack. So I really like that pick in from Snoopeh, going with Nasus over the likes of a Jarvan, which he sort of preferred a little bit more throughout the splits.
Well, there is the Jarvan. I was saying that Mokatte doesn't really play it much. It seems like he's going to lock it in. Lissandra, a champion that had really been ignored so far today, has a fantastic win rate here in Europe.
Yeah, really, really high up. In terms of the Jarvan, this will only be the 4th time that Mokatte has ever played it, if it does get locked in.
Jarvan, the 4th time.
So, exactly.
Really?
Lissandra, however, I think it complements the rest of the composition, but I'm a little worried about the front line here because it's basically all on Jax and Jarvan, and if they dive in to try and pick up kills, it's going to leave Twitch and Lissandra sort of floundering around, and you're going to have Nasus and Aatrox. So it's going to be like dive buddy combos.
Well, Lissandra could go in as well. The Claw of Doom.
Definitely. And it's a risky play, but there is some synergy between all of their comps, as long as they're in sync, as long as they're together, and they do it at the same time.
I don't think you're going to play that, Froggen. Come on, Krepo. Let's see what Froggen is going to play. His final map pick. It's going to be against Czaru, who will be on Lissandra.
So I do want to theorize for a second. It could work against Lissandra on the condition that he manages to get the root down before the Claw of Doom is traveling, right? That's the key, because the Soul Flare, the Q will slow him down, things like that. But as expected, he's most likely to do that RE.
It's what he played earlier on today, and it worked very well for him.
I hope you're in HD, ladies and gentlemen. That is a good-looking support player.
It is in close and personal with Krepo. Needs a bit of a shave by the looks of it. He's got a bit of a moustache going on there. Let's start trim that down a little, but I'm not really one to talk. So there are your team picks, and there are definitely some interesting choices. We've had some pretty interesting team comps all day.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of different ones, and I think going into Super Week, you have to try different picks. In terms of synergies, Meet Your Maker's composition is a little bit more well-rounded. You've got 3 champions that can dive in. If you count Thresh with his, Death Sentence follow-up, that's 4 champions that could be in your face very quickly. Follow that up with Spray and Pray from behind. You've got a zone control to protect Twitch. Over on the other side for EG, it's a little bit more pick-reliant, Get the Wither down, land the Charm. If a good crescendo comes in, there's good team fighting power. But it's a little bit more wonky synergy, like you have smaller ways that they can complement one another as opposed to a big 5v5. So in big team fight scenarios, I feel like MYM has the advantage.
Well, I like the fact that the Sona pick is in there, because if they do all dive in, it's just crescendo, and that's a good pick for Evil Geniuses, and that seems to me that it may well just counter straight away what Meet Your Makers have planned. We'll see if it works out, of course. The teams are looking pretty much focused right now, and why not? Because everything is at stake. This is all about trying to get in the playoffs right now for Evil Geniuses. They're trying to get themselves a better position so they can see who they're going to be up against. They generally, I would say, are no, they're not secure. They're not secure in any way, shape, or form at the moment. However, Meet Your Makers have really I don't know what
they need to
expression I could use here, but it is going to be a pretty slim chance.
Yeah, they need to climb Mount Olympus, find Zeus, shake his hand, and ask him for some help in order to make it into playoffs.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Exactly. For EG, I just want to talk about their chances. They can make playoffs with a minimum record of 2 wins and 3 losses. That is reliant on other teams, of course. If they manage to get as many as 4 wins, they absolutely guarantee themselves a spot. So it's just a matter of working up the numbers. And against the 8th place team, EG is in theory banking this as a victory already, but we'll see whether or not they can actually secure it.
Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. That is Evil Geniuses on your screen as the red team. And of course, Meet Your Makers will be the blue team. And we'll see whether any of them... Meet Your Makers used to be renowned for their season level 1 prowess. They would be so aggressive in going in, but that's not really something we've seen here in the LCS for a very long time.
In terms of the level 1s, we've actually had a relatively slow number of level 1s when I think about the entire
split. Across the whole season, yeah.
Like, if I think about the entire summer split, I think NA has been more dramatic. Right now, we have the potential of butting heads, as EG have actually stacked themselves up. They've gone in deep, but a very good Damascene standard from Mokatte is going to at least reveal the 5-man squad. And it's just this warding brigade that we're seeing so frequently.
Exactly the same as they did in the last match, just reversed. They're on the red side this time, but it does look like they may actually be setting up for something here. The rest of Meet Your Makers are expected to match his standard to fall on the ball. The charm landed on Czaru, actually caught the rest of the team off guard. Nobody was prepared to actually hit him there.
Yeah, there was no other CC to lock him down. If Wickd had skilled his Dark Flight and landed a knock-up, maybe, but it was a very difficult one at best. So, nevertheless, a little bit of damage. Czaru's just going to back off heal and return to lane basically unscathed.
And it does mean that everybody will step away at the 1:40 mark. No late invades planned. No great expectations planned from either team. So, lanes, let's have a look at those. It's not going to be a 1v1 happy times for Wickd this time around. He's going to be up in a 2v1 lane. Makler and Libik look like they're going to take possession of this bottom lane. We'll see how that works out. Wickd probably going to be leveling up his ranged ability to just farm out that one. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Jax is actually probably going to have a tough time of it up against Vayne and Sona.
Yeah, it is going to be very difficult for him. And remember that, Wickd picked this matchup voluntarily. He wanted to go in the 2v1 because Jax, I'm pretty sure, will be able to counter him quite easily in that 1v1 setup. The one thing that Kubon's going to be careful of is the poke from Sona. When she does get her power chords down and just those, Hymn of Valors over and over. You see a very early invade from Evil Geniuses. They got the numbers advantage and they want blue.
Yeah, it's a counter switch, both doing actually the exact same thing. Krepo's going over to help Snoopeh, while Libik, he's heading over to help Mokatte. So both junglers stealing away the blue buff. So countering each other effectively here because they got that ward down earlier on. Nobody really wins out.
It's just a straight-up trade. So they were well aware of one another's positions. They had vision down in the different areas, and they basically just traded buffs, which is actually what we've been seeing all split long. And you can see how much poke and damage Kubon has taken in this top lane already from Krepo alone. The 3-minute 3v1 tower dive on cue.
Straight on cue. So Mokatte went for that one to bully out the bottom. Snoopeh, however, went and took away the wolves in the bottom. Let's see if MYM actually make something of this turret, or whether Snoopeh's later chance on the top lane is going to work out. He's going to come in towards Mokatte when, as soon as that wave hits in there. He has got Wither, remember, but diving a Jax is a dangerous thing. A condemn on the wall is going to work wonders, though. He tries to use that counter strike, gets the stun on Yellowpete, taking the tower damage. He's going to go down first. That blood goes to Mokatte, as I said right at the start. Sorry, Kubon. Diving a Jax on a tower is a very, very dangerous thing.
Yellowpete to tower aggro too soon. Snoopeh and Krepo did not back him up. They basically said, you're on your own, buddy. He gave up first blood. Now, Kubon's going to do the best he can to defend this tower, but that is a massive minion wave that he's basically trying to get the experience and gold from while his tower's taking damage.
And it's working wonders for him. He's actually jumped again at the moment. We see Mokatte, though. He's going up towards Wicked. This is a straight 1v1, but of course, it is a level 3 Mokatte with red buff against a level 2 Wicked. Meanwhile, that top lane, you can see Snoopeh and Krepo, they had to back away. Kubon doing a really good job at defending this turret. Pete, though, is returning back to lane.
Yeah, there was just a complete communication error in that top lane, and MYM, they secure themselves first blood, and they secure themselves the first tower of the game. Makler and Mokatte will take this one out in just a second and back away. A very good start for MYM in this match.
4.5-minute tower, but the top turret also going to go for Evil Geniuses. So despite the first blood faux pas that Pete has made, it has evened things up. But look at this, Meet Your Makers, 4.5 minutes in, they're stunning Dragon.
This is very, very brave. You'll see how much damage Mokatte is taking. He's going to have to step away at low health and let Libik tank it up. If anybody from EG gets a slightest hint of this, they might be able to interrupt, but it's not going to happen. There's enough members around.
Yeah, it was a good setup, actually. Czaru had pinged it a long time ago, pinging on Froggen. I wonder what the pings were saying. He's basically saying, look, he's low mana. I've actually forced him away. He's not going to be able to do anything. Wicked out of position here. Tries to dark flight away. Is it going to be enough? The flash play is going to be in there. Death sentence thrown out. Misses. The ignite comes in. Czaru locks him up. He's going to go down. The blood passage, whatever passive, I don't know what the hell it's called. Quick shot. You're going to tell me in a minute. Makler gets the kill.
Very, very important. Bloodwell is popped. It's on cooldown now. 4 minutes. They got the flash. Very similar cooldown. And the kill went to Makler's hands. So now they have a dragon, a 2-kill advantage, and they've even on towers. We'll see how they decide to defend these lanes, because at 5 minutes in, both of our top laners have been severely put behind. 7 CS and 4 CS right now.
But look at this. Evil Genius is 3 stacking, and now for the inner turret. There's actually good damage going down into it already. Snoopeh putting that Q down. Kubon's actually going to get the stun onto Pete. This time he hasn't took tower damage. Czaru came in with that claw of doom, but it didn't manage to catch on towards him. It did, however, force him away.
So they managed to defend the tower, and that was well played. But the thing that MYM have to be a little bit careful of is just how much roam and damage EG are going to be applying to towers. You know, Nasus is one of the best 3v1, 3v2 tower pushes thanks to his wave clear on that Spirit Fire and the strength of Wither in those, you know, low number engagements. So for the time being, MYM doing pretty well and not making the same mistakes they did against Gambit.
Interesting to see the Libik and Makler return back to this bottom lane. Makler taking up this giant wave, of course. Kubon sticking in that top wave, so he's going to continue to clear that one out. It does mean that Makler got himself equal back on farm. He fell behind a fair bit, but for Kubon, he's building himself up a chunky wave, and Wicked's been struggling a bit because of all that pressure he had early on.
So it's a very good call from Makler and Libik to actually stick themselves back in that lane. They realized that the lane swap was going to come in. They knew that Wicked was going to go to the top lane, and you can see that Kubon has basically frozen that lane up. He's holding it in place for as long as he can. Unfortunately, minions behind him are going to start pushing it towards Wicked, who has half the levels. That's a level 6 Jax against a level 3 Aatrox. And Wicked's going to have to do a lot of catch-up to become relevant in this matchup.
That is going to be dangerous times. They'll flay on towards Yellowpete, but he condemns Libik straight away. That's going to be a Wither on towards Makler. Where is happening? Lissandra's coming around. Czaru was teleported in. Pete's trying to get away with this one. Krepo does get flayed out. Death sentence isn't used. He does flash away nicely. And look at Pete. He's made a great escape through the jungle.
Absolutely.
Very nicely played by EG.
Everybody got away, and they got out of range of Charu's frozen tomb. Wicked's trying to do the best he can. Kubon's going to leap in his possible.
He's not going to get away from this one. He's already used his Dark Flight. He's going to catch on towards him. There's the Ignite. Be able to tower dive this one. Or is it going to be enough? He's going to try and kite him around. He's maybe took too many hits. One more hit. Will it be enough? No! The health regen from that pot was just enough to save him. But look at Pete. Pete's coming hungry. Froggen was got no mana at all. And now Kubon's in trouble. May have cost himself this one. Yes, he will. Froggen picks up the kill.
And very importantly, Wickd managed to get the assist on that one. So he's, 20 CS behind, but that's a little tiny chunk of change that can try help him out to get back in this game. And that matchup of Jax versus Aatrox, it was one that Wickd didn't want, and now he's forced into, and his opponent is 2 kills above him and 3 levels above him. That is basically a lost lane until Snoopeh comes and helps him out.
I would love to have seen the cooldown on Dark Flight as well, because that must have been very close, but the Leap Strike came out and was enough to close him down. Look at this though, the blue buff is being contested. Snoopeh is close by, has got Spine available, but won't want to use it. He wants to give this across to Froggen. You can see Froggen hurting for mana. The rest of EG all come in force to defend it, and it's Froggen that picks up the blue.
So I managed to at least secure that objective, and interestingly enough, in the next minute and a half, Dragon will be respawning because it was picked up at 4 minutes 30, 4 minutes 40. So EG, they're going to try to keep their eyes open for that one. They stacked it to defend the tower here in the mid lane. And MYM, they're going to try to slow the game down, pick up a few more items, and probably contest for Dragon. I think that's going to be their next focus point here. And we'll see how quickly Kubon clears the wave and moves down towards the Dragon pits.
To me, the longer they leave Jax alone, he's going to become a problem if he gets beefy, because nobody really wants to lane with him right now. We're seeing Pete up there. Pete's actually going up against him, so Kubon's, a 1v1 lane, but this is a scary, scary thing. If they let Jax get fed and strong, he could be a real problem.
Yeah, I feel like MYM's composition is actually a little bit superior to EG in many ways, and Jax is one of them. He's going to be able to deal with Aatrox, or he's going to be able to deal with Vayne. Just counterattack all of those, counter-strike all of those auto attacks, block the damage, and jump on top of Vayne. Right now, the hook lands on Snoopeh as they get the tower.
The death sentence's there, but the flay didn't land, but that does. Demacia standard goes through. He's going to get locked up, and he gets taken down by the Cataclysm, and now Krepo's in trouble. He gets taken down. Czaru picks up another one. Mokatte taken low. Froggen tries to go aggressive. Didn't really have the mana to back that one up, and the EG are in desperate times right now. If Meet Your Makers 5-1 up, they take a turret and 2 kills.
All of a sudden, Meet Your Makers are making aggressive plays in the first 10 minutes of the game, something we have not seen them consistently do throughout the season. I talked about Kubon pushing the wave. He's pushed it out. 35 seconds on the clock. My question is, does he go from the base to the Dragon Pit? Because that spawns in 30 seconds, and I think he may reroute in the not-too-distant future.
We'll see. Yep, and there you go. He's changing direction. Looks like it is going to be the Dragon. The timer has been called. Wickd trying desperately. He's only up to level 6 right now. Still 2 levels behind Kubon. Effectively trying to farm his way back into this matchup. He was locked down so heavily early on in this matchup. He will become a problem eventually. The question is, will it be enough of a problem to Meet Your Makers to worry about? Because by that time, Kubon could be strong enough to just deal with anyone on Evil Geniuses.
Kubon has no idea where he wants to go or what he wants to do, because we've seen he was pushing to top lane, then he was coming down for Dragon, then he went back towards top, picked up the Wolf Camp, and now he maybe wants to pick a fight with Yellowpete. Dragon has respawned, and MYM have voluntarily put themselves in a 4-man position. Luckily for them, Evil Geniuses have got no vision in the area, and they haven't contested this at all. But that was a little risky. If EG had grouped to fight, they would have been at a very big disadvantage.
But Meet Your Makers had very good vision of it. If you look at their ward placements around the blue buff, around the wolves, they had full coverage and knew exactly where EG would come in, so they were quite safe, I think, or they felt safe, certainly in their setup.
And cast your mind back to weeks 1, 2, and 3 when MYM was securing so many victories thanks to Czaru teleporting in from behind. The reason for those victories was pink ward supremacy and vision control deep in their opponent's jungles. Kubon is now set and up. He gets charmed, and there goes Froggen.
That's going to be Kubon the dive on, but look at that Counter-Strike running, effectively counteracting everything Yellowpete can do, but there's a good condemn on the wall. That's going to be a kill. It's Froggen that picks it up. Teleport comes in from Czaru. Not going to be enough, and he actually cancels it.
Yeah, cancels it, gets the cooldown back, realizes that he can't 1v2 Froggen and Yellowpete, even if they've just used their ultimates. So unfortunately, Kubon does go down, but he's still doing very well for himself as the rest of Evil Geniuses have stacked up in this mid lane. They've got a numbers advantage, and they want to try even up the towers.
And good leveling up from Wickd here. He's up to level 8, just hit it. So there's only one behind Kubon right now, and Kubon, the fact that, like you said, he didn't really know where he wanted to go, may well have lost his advantage and squandered it a little.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird one, because if MYM had stayed together on Dragon, The question is, what would they have done next? And there was no blue buff to steal. They don't really want to overextend to the inner tower on the bottom lane. So he just tried to farm up. He ended up getting caught out.
So, as it stands, Froggen is the highest farmer in the game, and you can see he's up 2-0. In terms of gold, he's actually behind, though, because of the global objectives that Meat Makers are picking up, because they've got those 2-to-1 turrets, because they've got that dragon, or 2 dragons, in fact, I bet it is, because they got that very early dragon. It has given Meat Makers the advantage in gold. You can see the AD carries, it's 1,000 gold advantage as well. Top lane, 1,200 gold advantage. Junglers, just shy of about 800 gold advantage as well. In terms of supports, well, that's always going to be fairly close. It's simply the global objectives gold that's separating those two. In terms of items, let's see where that stands. You can see Bilgewater Cutlass is all around. Everybody wants to get that Blade of the Ruined King. Yeah,
at this point in time, there's going to be like a million Blade of the Ruined King, so we're going to see a lot of movement speed being decreased during the course of these fights. Remember, it has taken a bit of a hit in terms of that active, but still very, very good item on everybody. What I do like about the different builds, Czaru's gone for that Abyssal Scepter, whereas Froggen has gone for the Deathfire Grasp. So Froggen wants to pop people, and Czaru wants to be a little more tanky, wants to survive some of the damage coming out of Froggen, and also make Jax's damage more impactful by denying that magic resist from his opponents.
Interesting, the difference between the AD carries right now is a full set of Berserker Boots. Makler's getting engaged upon those. Berserker Boots are not going to help him here because Froggen will be picking up another kill. Tried to go stealth, but look at it. Straight round the back. Czaru is there to equalize the damage.
Very good play from Czaru. He was in the right place at the right time. The buff transfer gets locked between two of them, and now all of a sudden MYM are in position to steal the blue buff as well. So very, very good play. A little unfortunate for Makler to go down, but at the end of the day, they come out in an advantageous position. They got the assist, they got the buff, and now they can start to try encroach upon Yellowpete and Krepo.
Well, Kubon leaps in there. Czaru and Mokatte were looking to cut around the side there of Pete and Krepo, but they have backed away in the right direction, avoiding any of the damage. But that does leave their mid lane fairly exposed here. Wickd is getting the free farm in that top lane, but look at Meat Makers. They are gathering to push down that mid.
Yeah, they've got numbers advantage, and more importantly, they have vision advantage here. They can see everything approaching the lane, which just allows them to stay aggressive more often. They know that Wickd is in the top lane, and Makler's going to go try deal with him with that Blade of the Ruined King. He could probably win it if a fight broke out. Right now, it's a lot of damage in the middle, and Wicked's caught.
Spray and pray being used. He's going to have to flash out of this one. Wickd isn't going to be enough. And, well, Makler didn't have the flash to follow through. He would have certainly been able to take Wickd down.
But look at MYM.
He's not safe yet. There is Jax coming up. Kubon is not going to cut him off. They tried to go around towards the blue buff. Instead, they'll be happy with that.
And this is a very scary place for EG to be in. If the AD carry of MYM is able to so easily duel Wicked's Aatrox, Wickd isn't going to be able to stay in lane and farm up safely. Now, to be fair, he was very, very far behind as far as items are concerned, and that gap has been closed a little bit with the most recent pickups, but he's still significantly further behind damage and consistent, auto-attack damage over time against Makler.
Well, Meat Makers have pinged that top turret. It looks like it's where they're going to focus on. Makler is up there. He is going to have 3 members of Evil Geniuses collapsing in towards him, though, so not going to be able to push it on his own. He's going to need that support over the rest of his team. EG are in full defensive stance right now. Froggen, though, the saving grace for them. He's 3-1-0 in that mid lane with that Deathfire Grasp, but essentially picking up fights as and when he can win them. Right now, Evil Geniuses need to pick themselves up an Oracle's Elixir, and they need to clear out the vision on their side of the jungle. So Krepo does tend to pick them up in games that are a little bit struggling, sort of between 18 and 21 minutes or so. That's the normal time you'll secure it. And if they can get vision control back in the jungle, Evil Geniuses are going to stall the game out so that 4,000 gold lead becomes less impactful, and then they'll start looking to play fights. So this is very much defensive on the back foot from EG. Well, Czaru's going to die, that's for sure. The question is, or is he? Is he? Froggen could be able to cut him off with the orbs. He hasn't quite got the range. Czaru might be able to get away from this one. He's going to head straight towards Pete, though. Yeah, and those big orbs around Froggen are going to get him down. And Wickd gets dropped. No problem there. His passive was not going to save him. The rest of his team had already backed away from that one. Crescendo had already been used from Krepo. We missed that on the screen, and that will be the top lane tower going down here. While this is all happening, Pete's getting himself a little bit of a push in the bottom lane, but looks like Mokatte's doing a good job of keeping him away. Mokatte's gone in. Going aggressive. Condemn comes out from Pete's just like, no, get away. So he manages to at least fend him off for a little bit, but very importantly, Mokatte is defending this tower. The rest of MYM were thinking about pushing on the top inner, but decided against it. They've turned their focus onto Froggen's Ahri, and if he gets locked up by a stun or a death sentence, he will be sentenced to death. Well, at the moment he's staying very safe and actually took the Wraith right around the back.
That's the best part, the best view that Wraith has ever seen in his life.
He had a good little guided tour around the forest
before being executed. Now with Dragon respawning, MYM are set to take their third Dragon of the game by 18 minutes. They picked the first up as one of the quickest Dragons in the game. And Dragon control is something that MYM have not been historically very good at throughout the course of the summer split. And as long as they maintain control of that right now, they're going to have this nice comfy cushion of gold between them and their opponents.
And that comfy cushion of gold is 5,000 right now. 7 and 4 in kills, 3-1 in turrets. Big advantages for Meet Your Makers here in a game that on paper you wouldn't put it down to win, especially after the results earlier on today. So they are bouncing back very well here. We wondered how they'd react to it. And Evil Geniuses to such a overly confident performance against Ninjas in Pajamas, who from all aspects, everything we hear, have been destroying everyone in terms of scrims. They really have a good result in many, many scrims against many opponents, but right now, it is EG that are floundering against Meet Your Makers.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the EU LCS. The team dominates game 1, falters game 2. Froggen was very close to getting caught out here. Smelled a rat and was able to back away. Almost got jumped on by Kubon and Czaru. And it's just something that we've been seeing all season long. You know, teams that perform well in one game and struggle a little bit more. But it is still early days. We're only 20 minutes on the clock, and EG, they've slowed the game down enough. They're not falling further behind, which is what they were doing for the first 10 or 12 minutes.
Pete is staying very defensive on that bottom. He's not really got much vision. As I say, not much vision. EG have actually put a lot of wards out. They've invested heavily in trying to get some of that vision back. We see Mokatte actually spotted by one of those wards, and Pete may well try and slide in and steal it. No, instead he condemns on towards Czaru, which forced actually Mokatte to pick up the blue buff.
So at the end of the day, if you are stealing a buff, you tend to want to smite secure it if it's at risk of being stolen. You rather deny it from your opponents than lose it entirely. So what we'll do is we'll wait for blue buff to respawn and give MYM's blue to Czaru. In terms of the vision that you highlighted, there's a lot of pink wards that are put down on the top half of the map. You can see by the blue buff as well. Pink ward sitting in Snoopeh's back pocket, and it does two things. Number one, it clears the vision from MYM, and number two, it reveals Makler's ambush stealth up attacks. So I really like that itemization, and I hope they continue with it.
Froggen stands and waits, but look at this. Kubon knows exactly where he is. They both know where each other are.
Look in the mid lane, though.
Throws out that charm. Yeah, it does mean he's just simply distracting him enough. And that is a very easy turret. Meet Your Makers in full control. Froggen is going to have to teleport away from this one because they are collapsing in on his position. Will he be quick enough? Kubon thought about trying to go in towards those bushes and distracted him, but wasn't quite sure if he could take him in a 1v1.
Yeah, Kubon is very afraid because he does very well against auto-attacking champions, and Ari, who's just going to DFG and spell death you, is very scary. There goes the Cataclysm. They've called Krepo and Snoopeh.
He does use the crescendo, just flashes straight away from that, but 2 flashes burnt there.
2 flashes burnt. I'm flabbergasted at that crescendo. Not only did it lock up Mokatte from doing anything further, at absolute max range, it caught Czaru as well. Whether or not Krepo aimed it to hit both, or Czaru just ended up there with the Claw of Doom, it worked out. Libik, however, if he gets a death sentence, this is going to be a dead Yellowpete.
Throws out the lantern. He does actually. Yellowpete's going to take him down. Yes, he will. Manages to roll through, but look at that stun. Is it going to be enough to slow him down? The Wither comes in. Makler's going to get caught out. The lifesteal is not going to be enough. He might be able to turn this one round. Snoopeh is in trouble now. He's going to have to try and get away from this one. Makler might be able to kite this one out, and you can see he's doing it. No! The big hit from Snoopeh comes down. Don't mess with the dog.
That siphoning strike, if that had been half a second longer, that would have been a dead Snoopeh and a double kill for Makler. But he manages to pick the kill up. At the end of the day, they trade 2 for 1. So, you know, a good counterplay, but Yellowpete was caught out. Hook, line, and simpler.
One of those things where you just hammer in the Q key. Come on! You can do this. Hit the damn thing. Froggen, though, he's going to be clearing out those raids. He is the saving grace, as I mentioned, for Evil Geniuses. But that, right there, was the first 2 kills that EG have actually picked up that didn't have Froggen's name all over it. Because that is finally 6 kills for EG. Right now, though, Meet Your Makers are still in the driving seat. 5,000 gold advantage right now in the 22-minute mark. EG have to try and pull something together if they are to challenge for any of those higher spots in the playoffs.
They're going to continue stalling, though. That's the thing. They want to continue building up some more itemization. They want to look for picks if MYM overextend or stay where they shouldn't be. And what you'll notice is MYM's vision is getting significantly less. And what that means is EG are going to start being in a position where they can actually challenge dragons and start fighting more on their terms.
Well, we see Meteor Makers having to back off from Evil Geniuses, stepping up in the mid lane, actually. Starting to group up. We see the Makler's wriggling his way back up towards that mid lane, and Meteor Makers in a pretty healthy position still to hold this one off. You can see the Phantom Dancer has been completed for Makler. There's another set of wraiths for Froggen. Froggen really is farming. They're hitting those wraiths hard right now. He's a little bit behind in terms of build right now. Actually, tell a lie. They've gone different routes, so not really behind, but they are pretty close to gold right now. He's the only member of Evil Geniuses that is remotely close to his lane partner.
Yeah, thanks to the fact that he's got those 4 kills. That's the biggest influential factor in staying close right now. And basically, if anybody gets caught by a charm on MYM's side, maybe with the exception of Mokatte with Kubon with that Hex Drinker, they're basically going to go down. That is a lot of damage, a lot of bonus damage, and very importantly, Froggen has picked himself up as Zhonya's Hourglass. Makler is stealthed up. He's looking for Yellowpete, and here comes Czaru from behind.
Czaru with the teleport and home guard, but condemns him away. Tries to turn it around, not going to happen. Locked up, Czaru just destroyed him where he stood. Not a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Teleported in, locked him up with a tomb, and now all of a sudden Froggen instantly replies.
Instant reply, and that's the AD carry of Makler going down. The rat was skewered and destroyed right there. But as it stands, Meteor Makers, they're waiting for that dragon. He's going to spawn. They're going to get themselves a 4th.
And now with losing both of their AD carries, it'll take a little longer to go down. But still, Evil Geniuses, they need Vayne's damage to be able to contest and fight this one. So, fortunately, they give that one up yet again. But what it has allowed is all of this time has given Wickd the ability to split push and start taking down these towers.
So, uses his ultimate, and that, of course, we saw it before, is a very fast tower destroyer. So, Wickd, the tower destroyer, is working well. But Kubon straight on towards him, and he's actually giving up. They're not giving up chasing. Oh, he's not going to follow through. Froggen, though, he's in trouble. I don't know where he's going to go here.
He flashes
past the tower. Has not got his ultimate available for quite a while here. Czaru surely will pick him up. No, misses the charm. Just managed to get some more damage down. Czaru's still taking a bit of a hit here. He will finally get locked up as the moment the Makler comes around. The explosive cast catches on towards him. Uses the Sonya's. Is he going to have his ultimate available? No, not yet. Still can't get away from this one. Hasn't got enough to get the charm out. Makler picks up the kill.
So he loses his life, a flash, and obviously there's the Hourglass active. In reply for taking the middle tower, Snoopeh was able to push that one down. I guess in the grand scheme of things, that's probably worth it, but maybe should have held on to the flash. I think Snoopeh still would have got that tower, even if Froggen had died a little earlier.
But he gave the shutdown bonus to Makler and 2 assists across the Meteor Makers as well.
That's a lot of extra gold given over to MYM's hands.
But a tower's a tower, I guess, at the end of the day, and the objectives are what counts and not kills. 10-7 currently to Meteor Makers, who are in the driving seat, but have been floundering a little here, and Evil Geniuses seem to be starting to collect their thoughts. Just looking across Wickd and Kubon, there was a big difference there, but it is definitely a lot closer right now. Wicked's going to be getting that Randian's Omen will be the next
they've caught
item.
Czaru!
And they have caught Czaru out, and look at the damage, but they haven't got enough to follow through. So he uses that Claw of Doom and escapes to victory.
So manages to get out safely. He managed to save his flash as well, which is even more important in that particular gank. But also Wickd, he missed the Dark Flight. He tried to get the knock up, he ended up wall planting it. What we do see now, though, is MYM are going for a 2-man Baron.
The 2-man Baron, and Kubon Mokatte should be able to do this one, but not if they get spotted. Here comes Snoopeh. He's going to put that ping ward down. See them doing it. He's thinking, no way. I'm not going to let 2 people try and sneak this one away. They do clear it out, and they managed to also take away the ward coverage that Meteor Makers had in there. And that, again, is actually buying EG time. Yeah, every time Meteor Makers delay and try these little tricks and they don't work, it's giving EG a chance to get in the game.
Yeah, I really want to highlight just how difficult it is to do those sneaky Barons now. Now that Baron has been rechanged, the target closest to him has his damage reduced by 50%. So it makes it a lot more difficult for the likes of Jax to actually pick up that kill if he's the one that's affected by the damage reduction. You can see Froggen camping on that bottom lane. He's just waiting for a juicy target to roll by, and if he gets a charm, it's going to be a dead target.
Well, it is Kubon. He's got that Hex Drinker. Is it going to be enough, though, to stop the damage that Froggen could put out? Froggen instead teleporting back. Doesn't really fancy it. And Wisely backs away from this one. Not too sure. You never really know with Froggen. He could pull something magical out. Majestic plays that he often does, but Wickd, he's definitely got himself back into this one, was well out of the game early on in that lane phase. MYM did a grand job at shutting him down, but you can't shut Wickd down for long, and has it been enough? Have they let him go? That's the question. There is still a big goal difference, a big goal disparity, but as the game progresses, as the gold heaps up and gets larger, that 5,000 gold is going to be less and less of difference.
And remember, we haven't actually seen a full team fight, right? If you think about the entire 30-minute game so far, it's been picks that MYM have been slightly more superior at making. They find someone, they kill them, they take an objective. They find someone, they kill, and they take a tower. But now that they're down to the inner towers, MYM have to slow down because it's so much more risky. And we haven't seen a full 4v4 or 5v5. This could be it, as EG have stacked up in the mid lane.
EG pushing straight down the mid lane. Kubon wasn't there. He was trying to push up the top, the bottom inner turret, and that's actually bought EG time to get in towards that Baron pit. Will they go for it? I won't be surprised if they do.
They're pulling MYM.
Well, we'll see if they do pull them, because MYM are not falling for it. They're starting to stack up. Actually coming in from pincer move here. Libik throwing out that dark passage, continuing to go. Ooh. You saw Czaru, thought about going in there. MYM gather very successfully. They have such a quick closing team, a gap closing team.
Yeah, I'm really happy that Czaru didn't follow that up, because if he followed the Claw of Doom up and landed, he would have been condemned into the wall, or crescendoed probably, because he's seen both Vayne and Sona within range and realized it was a very risky move. What MYM now have is they have the positional advantage, they've got the numbers advantage, and they're going to try to take out this bottom inner tower.
They may well have enough to do it. They've only got 1 minion, so they're going to have to tank this one up a little bit. Have they got enough there? Snoopeh's in there, puts the Wither down. They do manage to force him away. And that is only half the turret damage gone down, but still, it's enough. It's a good start. We do see Wickd putting that ward down, getting vision, and MYM are going to back away.
Very importantly, the next time MYM do that, they'll secure the tower. And that's really what counts at this stage in time. They're sitting on a good amount of money as well, so going to go back, spend a little bit of that cash. You can see Czaru 1,500 gold. You can see Makler 1,700 gold. So once that gets spent, I think MYM will be trying to look to force fights, but I don't really see how they can without maybe a tower dive or catching Evil Geniuses out, because right now, EG are just playing so incredibly defensive. They caught Kubon, and Froggen's thinking about it.
And Froggen realized, I'm not too sure he can take this one. He needed the help of Pete. Pete comes around now. Pete certainly put the damage down. Gets that condemned out towards him, takes him down. But look at Czaru. He comes in, melts one, melts another as well. Pete's going to go down. He got taken very low, but it was enough to get the kill.
This could be Baron for MYM. They're thinking about it. They've got 4 members up. Makler is there with the Last Whisper, Phantom Dancer, and the Blade of the Ruined King. So as long as EG don't interrupt them, they should be able to pick it up. They're clearing the vision out, and you can see EG stacking up. They've got 3 members there. They're thinking about it, and now they've actually started Baron off.
They know that they're around the side. They have Crescendo. Wickd has his ultimate as well to dive himself in there. It's the Massacre, I believe it is, to launch himself in. You can see him off the side. The passive is also available. Snoopeh's going to have to flash and try and steal this one with the smite. Instead, it's going to be Wickd. They try and lock up. Is it enough, though? Because Czaru's been caught out around the side. Now they're going to go on towards Makler. Makler gets taken down. It's a double for Wickd. Mokatte's been taken low. Snoopeh backs away. Libik might get dived on here. The Dark Flight will be available for Wickd. Where's he going to flash towards? Mokatte chases on towards Snoopeh. Snoopeh runs away from this, and that was a great counter from Evil Geniuses. A 3v5. They managed to pick up 2 kills.
Yeah, very, very good play from EG. They engaged upon, I think it was the 4 members of MYM in the pit, managed to lock them up, get 2 kills, and more importantly than getting the kills, they actually prevented the Baron from starting. And the 2 kills that were secured were for Wickd. That is a double kill on the most starved player on the Evil Geniuses team. So very, very good play and coordination from them.
So the 2 carries of Froggen and Pete, who were taken down in that last fight, are back available. And that means, of course, that they will start setting up. The Dragon is live, and for the first time in the game, EG are in a position to actually try and fight for this one. Gold, still 5,000 gold between these two. Not really changing. It's actually shrinking a little bit in favor of Evil Geniuses. They managed to close the gap to around about 4,500 gold right now, but look at MYM, because they are ready and waiting to go for another Dragon.
There's no vision here from Evil Geniuses, and they've got a really quick Dragon-taking team with a Twitch, with a Jarvan, with a Jax. You'll see how quickly this gets shredded. And I think one of the reasons that, you know, EG are doing well, if I can say that, is 5,000 gold at 15 minutes when it's 25 or 30% of the total gold is massive. But 5,000 gold when it's 40,000, and it's only now 15%, approaching 10% of the gold difference, it's significantly less impactful, and very big items are completed. You can see the Randy and Zoma in there for Wickd, so that'll help him out against both Jax, Jarvan, and Twitch at the same time.
And Wickd has actually surpassed Kubon in farm as well now, so he's definitely gained himself up there, kept up now, equal with levels, definitely clawed his way in. And Meteor Makers, you can't help but think, have they spent too much time maybe trying to get this Baron? They've made 2 attempts at it so far, and both of them effectively backfired. While this is all happening, Pete's getting himself a lot of free farm down that bottom lane, keeping those wave clears. Meteor Makers realize that. He's a long way away from the fight, should they begin on Baron.
I still think I like the MYM composition when it comes to a full-on 5v5 team fight. When I think of a Jax Counter-Strike maybe hitting 2 or 3 people, Cataclysm locking a few in, you know, Frozen Tomb locking people up, plus spray and pray on top of all of that, I think it's a little stronger than what EG can offer. But if EG can get a pick, they can get a charm and burst someone down, that's going to be very scary to deal with. And we'll see how it works out, as this is a fight.
Mokatte jumps in, but doesn't really land the target. They hook in on Snoopeh, but Snoopeh's not the one they want to go for. And you see Froggen insta-killing Mokatte there. Wickd still handling Makler. Makler goes down. Libik's the next focus. Wickd is doing damage. He's finally going to get taken down, but he's got his blood well available, so the passive will come up. Czaru, meanwhile, he took down Froggen, but instantly got replied on. And ironically, it was Krepo that picked up the kill. It's a 3-4-3.
Yet another brilliant crescendo there from Krepo, locking up
3 for 2.
3 for 2 at the end of the day, locking up both Czaru and Makler towards the bottom of that river area. And we had sort of a split thing, but the one thing that's important to note, Wickd was pulling multiple members of MYM away and containing them. He held them in place, held their attention, and allowed the rest of EG to deal damage and finish people off. Kubon, however, scarily, basically took out Froggen as well. Locked him up, stunned him, and with the help of some Czaru damage, managed to kill Froggen.
They're sure... Libik is very low on health. This surprises me. He's very brave. I'm seeing this one. Is it going to be enough? Kubon, yes, you are strong. Yes, you've got a Warmox, but have you got enough to take it down?
Teleport from Czaru in the top lane right now.
Coming in.
And the
Teleport
rest of
Czaru.
EG. So the thing is, Kubon is low, Libik is low. If EG gets here in time, this is going to be a very good fight for them. As long as someone else is tanking Baron, Kubon's going to finish it quicker. Libik is running away.
Well, Crescendo is not available, but look at Pete. He goes straight in instantly. You have to see the counter strike from Kubon. EG now looking to see if they can get any picks. If Snoopeh can land the Wither on Mokatte. Oh, he's been caught with a condemn on the wall just as he was about to Demacia stand and slide away. Didn't happen. That's the jungler gone. That's the smite gone. EG turn it around. They're gonna get Baron. Everybody from MYM has backed off. Terrible mistake.
Mokatte missed it. He missed the pull. He landed the grab, the flag. He tried to drag, and he just got knocked into the wall. Evil Geniuses now pick up the Baron. This is going to close the goal difference. And with the statistics that Baron gives you, EG are now in the advantage. Even though they're 3 gold behind in total, if you add up all of the other statistics that it provides you, the attack damage, the regen, the ability power, EG have now all of a sudden taken back control of this game.
And that gold, we always talk about how big of an advantage Baron is. It effectively gives like an 8,000 gold swing, and just look at the gold advantage. It's down to 2,000 already. EG pushing on through, and I'm not too sure they can stop them getting on towards this inhibitor turret. Kubon is teleporting back. He's finally left that bottom lane. The rest of EG realize we've got a big advantage here, guys. Let's back away. Let's take stock of the situation.
So now the goal for EG is to ward up MYM's jungle, ward up the map, and you can see how many wards they have in the blue half of the map on behalf of Evil Geniuses. And then they want to start looking for some picks. They want to start picking fights on their term, because now they're in this power play for the next sort of 3 or so minutes. And if they can catch people from MYM out, that's going to be the tower go, the tower signal. And you can see there's 2 towers in the bottom lane. So why force an inhibitor one that's risky and scary when there's easier objectives elsewhere on the map?
Well, EG are... Ooh, I thought Libik's thinking about going for it. Doesn't want to go in towards there, that's for sure. Should throw out the Demacia standard. I think Mokatte, which is... But either of them, they're contemplating it. And Froggen
look for the charm.
Snoopeh just wait.
This is going to be a scary charm.
That's the charm. Oh, it's Kubon. He's going to be the most tankiest member, but is it going to be enough? They do catch on towards Snoopeh. The crescendo only caught Mokatte there, actually using it defensively. That kind of didn't work for EG.
I got to admit, that was a questionable play. Yeah, you caught Kubon, but he's got a Warmox completed, plus a Hex Drinker, plus a Negatron Cloak. That is a scary, scary Jax. They tried to focus him down, but even in a best-case scenario, they were still 3v4, 3v5 at the end of the day. So EG trying to make something special happen, it kind of backfires.
Pete might get caught out here. He has got the red buff, but realizes he's got to back away from this one. They've got great wall coverage down the left-hand side where the Baron was, and Pete's making sure he takes away every little bit of gold away from Kubon. He's like, no, my jungle, all my mobs, and you're not going to get any of these. Kubon, though, he's returning to farming ways, but is it enough? Has he done it quick enough? He had such a huge advantage over Wicked, but I just feel he's let it slip away.
Yeah, I think as a team they've let it slip away. The problem was, and this is a problem that has plagued MYM throughout the splits as well, when they do get an advantage, they're not 100% sure how to convert that early game lead into mid-game objectives and mid-game control. Once they hit the inner towers of Evil Geniuses, Makers stalled. They kind of ran out of gas and sort of went, well, we don't really know how to push. We don't really... How do we do this? Do we group? You know, and they didn't even try, unfortunately.
Well, the blue buff is going to get stolen away from them. It will be Froggen that picks that one up. You can see... Actually, no, they're going to give it Snoopeh. Going to give it Snoopeh. Froggen's already got his own one, so Snoopeh's going to be continuing to build up that siphoning strike, which we saw won a fight earlier on.
Yeah, luckily getting the cooldown available is basically what kept him in it. He got the lifesteal from his passive, landed that big smack on the head onto Makler's Twitch, and it did keep him alive. And for the first time this game, Evil Geniuses are about to shoot the dragon in the face.
They are going to go for that dragon. This will be their first one. I believe Makers already had 5 dragons so far. It's 4 or 5. Either way, it's a lot. And this will be the first one of the game for EG. So that would be music to the ears of a support like Krepo, because it's the supports that really get starved for gold when they don't get dragons.
When you look at the support as well, Krepo's picked himself up in Mikhail's Crucible, which is an item we don't see super often. And when you combo that with Yellowpete's Quicksilver Sash, if he gets stunned by Counter-Strike, he's going to QSS it out. If he then gets stunned by, you know, Czaru, for example, you can pull him out with Mikhail's, you can give him that nice chunk of HP and heal him. And I absolutely love that pickup because I think it works against the major threats on the MYM side.
Froggen is pushed the wave in, then not going to take down that tower. I'm not sure whether they were going to put some damage on towards it instead, but they thought Makers may be pushing up their mid, which is why you saw them kind of all half-heartedly backing away, like, are they still pushing? Are they going to stop? Are they going to keep going? I'm
very surprised that EG has not stacked up to push those bottom towers down in 40 minutes, because it's... the minions have just done it now, but it's basically... I don't want to say easy gold, but it's fairly safe gold. It's very extended. If they stay as 5, it can work out for them. And Kubon's farming himself up, but that's like 4,500 HP of jacks they've got to burn through.
But he's thinking, yeah, I'm a long way out of position here. Even if it's a 4,500, he can't go 4v1, and he would get taken down, even with his ghost and leap strike.
4,000. I overestimated the power of Warmogs, but it's still a very, very tanky, you know, jacks. Even at 50% HP, that's more than most of the champions in the game right now. And EG, they've got themselves back in it, and they're not taking risks. They're not pushing towers. They're not picking fights. I'm not quite sure what the go signal is going to be, whether it is more vision and then catching someone out, or maybe the next Baron. I think they may even stall this until the next Baron as the big, let's try and win the game on that play.
Krepo doing what he can to get him. He got 3 CS in amongst that while Wicked was just stealing the rest. He was like, I'm gonna get some at least. That gave him 70 gold, at least 80 gold. He's going to be happy with that. It's going to be enough to go back and buy. What's Libik doing? He's going very aggressive, putting a ward on the rates.
So again, just trying to get as much vision as possible here. Both of the supports have been running around with Oracle's Elixirs for a fairly lengthy period of time. Krepo has actually wore out a little while ago, but he's been stocking up on those pink wards and basically getting as much vision as possible. And again, I really feel that the Baron is going to be the next big point of contention here, and you can see that's the signal. Snoopeh, he's the one with the Oracles. He's placing all the wards to get all the vision so they can have all the information for the next big fights.
And I need to make it clear how important of a game this is for Evil Geniuses. This would take them to 4th place in the league, a position they've not been at effectively since week 3, which is the first time they were really up there. And even then, they were only tied for 4th place. This would put them at 4th place on their own, which is a big achievement when you think they were down in, what, 7th position back in week 4.
And remember, like we talked about, you know, they only need a 2-3 record on the assumption that their opponents have, you know, not optimal weeks. And if EG managed to get their 2nd win now and a 3rd win of their next 3 games, it basically guarantees their entry. Now Libik throws out the death sentence just short of Wicked. Doesn't manage to catch in his wings, and maybe EG want to turn this one around. Guardian Angel's been completed for Froggen, so he's going to have to come back, or going to have the ability to come back in the fight, much like Wicked, as Bloodwell is available once again.
Yeah, Wicked thought about going in there, tried to catch the slow on them actually. Didn't quite catch the tail either side. Obviously, with that Zhonya's as well, Froggen's going to be a real pain in the backside, actually. Czaru's trying to sneak off and wait at the side, but that giant stack of minions has caught Froggen's attention. Meanwhile, the Baron will be up in 2 seconds' time, so blue buff is actually going to be picked up by Froggen. If he shows himself in that bottom lane, I feel that MYM may try and start something here.
Yeah, MYM are still going to be relatively aware that Froggen's not with them. You can see they've immediately moved up to the Baron pit. They're trying to play the hide-and-seek game, but they don't know there's a ward behind them. There's no pink. Libik, he's just seen the ward, going to finally kill that one off, and unfortunately, that's going to be like, this sucks. Evil Geniuses have stacked in the mid lane. They might be pushing for the inhibitor. This didn't work out so well for SK in one of their fights. We'll see if this works here.
Yeah, it's worked out very well. They managed to get the inner turret down, and MYM were kind of half split. It's like, do we teleport back or do we run back? Half them ran, half them teleported, and that may well be the discount, the problem they needed. And you can see immediately they're going to get on towards that inhibitor turret. Czaru goes aggressive.
Wow!
Oh, he hasn't even been able to use his ultimate there. He got locked up straight away with that charm. Kubon with the counter-strike. He has to get away from that one. But that is not a good start for MYM. I mentioned at the start, they went in. They were so half-hearted. Nobody really had a clear idea of how we're going to attack.
Those pincer attacks seldom work out at this level of play. More often than not, those 3 from the top, 2 from the side type of fights work against you because you're stacking and you're jumping into a group of 5 members. They can focus a single target down way more effectively. Now, Mokatte might try and steal this one. Baron's down to 6,000 HP. The rest of MYM are here. The question is, who goes in first? The answer might be Libik. Look at the bottom lane. You can see Makler's miles away.
Makler's sneaking in. He's going to go for an inhibitor turret. There's a giant wave of minions for EG as well. They are going to go towards Yellowpete. Yellowpete flashes away. You can see Mokatte goes in. Is he going to be able to smite it down? No, because he's not low enough. That's an inhibitor turret going down, but that is Pete also taking down Mokatte. There's the Baron. Now you can see it's another kill being picked up. They're going to chase on towards it. Czaru is about to respawn. Froggen is all over and completely destroying the rat. He's been melted. Makler goes down, but he got a turret for it. Is it going to be enough, though? They're going to continue chasing Libik. Oh, the flash, the wither. He didn't manage to get the wither down. They both flashed at the right time. Very nicely played from Libik. But look at the mid lane. You can see Wickd is pushing down a big, giant wave, and he's going to have himself the support of the rest of the team in a minute. They're going to get that inhibitor turret. 5 versus 3 on this inhibitor. Now, the Glacial Tomb is available for Czaru, so if we can lock up at least one of the targets and slow down the rest, maybe they can make this work. But there is no box available for Thresh. At the end of the day, MYM are playing this very safe. They've given up the tower. They're going to give up the inhibitor as well. They get the hook on Snoopeh, but it's definitely not the one they wanted to fish for. They are going to get themselves that inhibitor. Well, if they finish it off, they will actually get the second inhibitor turret of the game as well. And now EG are all over the base of MYM. This Baron buff, it's got 3 minutes left at the minimum still on here. MYM with the home guard boots. Are they going to try and create something? No, they're not. They're going to get slowed down. They've got Wickd. The hook on Wickd. Not too sure they wanted to bring him in. Kubon, though, with the tankiest item in the game, tankiest player in the game, just gets melted by Evil Geniuses. Mokatte tries to slide away, but Froggen says no way and just runs straight through, picks him down. There's going to be a second. Yellowpete does get taken down. Libik gets dropped as well. It's a triple for Froggen right now. He is cleaning house once again. Uses that Zhonya's hourglass, throws out the charm. Not going to be enough. Czaru, though, Krepo's trying to kill him. Pete, meanwhile, solos Makler. Would you believe it? Krepo did kill Czaru. Where he pulled that one from, used the crescendo to take him out. They're going to finish the game. Evil Geniuses will beat MYM. They were 5,000 goal behind, but that is going to take them to 4th place. Evil Geniuses bounced back from a deficit in the early game to pick up a victory where if you think back to week 1 in DreamHack, they tried to do it against Lemon Dogs. They were way further behind. They were playing from behind this game as well, and they did not make mistakes. They stalled when they needed to stall. They farmed when they needed to farm, and they managed to bounce themselves back into this. 2-0 on the week, 0-2 for MYM. I'm pretty sure that means MYM cannot make a playoff position now, unfortunately. They have too many losses to their name, and you can see the look of relief across every single member of Evil Geniuses. And we could say Snoopeh technically 5-0 since he's picked and chooses his jungle matches, but it seems to have worked. Whatever Evil Geniuses have been doing over the last few weeks, they are certainly playing when the pressure is on. The pressure was certainly on there. 5,000 goal behind at 1.4. Really, around about 20 minutes of that game, they were up against the pressure of MYM. They were taking turrets down. They took 5 dragons down, MYM. Yeah, EG hung on. They managed to fight their way back into it and brought out the victory. Like you say, 2-0 in Super Week. It's a very good start for the Evil Geniuses fans.
If they get one more victory, I think that pretty much clinches them a top 6 position. We'll start running all the math as we start to get more of these matches completed. But at the end of the day, EG just did not make a mistake. Once they got to the mid-game, once MYM let off the pressure, they were able to absorb it, soak it up, fend off the blows, even with Yellowpete. I mean, he got caught 2-3 times in that bottom lane. But it didn't cost them anything.
And that's what it seemed to be. Once MYM makers, they took the 3 outer turrets, they were just like,
what do we do now?
Don't really know what we do now. They took the blue buff away many times, constantly farming the dragons. They just didn't have that extra step.
I feel like MYM did not force a 5v5 team fight when they should have. When they had the gold advantage, they had the compositional advantage. If they had picked the fight, landed some abilities, locked people up in cataclysms as a 5-man unit, not as a staggered, split up,
it actually played into Froggen's game. Froggen really and Ari, that's exactly what he wants. Yeah. How many times did we see him waiting in the bushes saying, I'm going to get a kill in a moment?
Yeah,
and sure enough, he'd follow one up.
At some point, somebody's going to walk past. He's going to land the charm, get the full combo done. And again, it was just a matter of, I think, MYM, a little bit of lackluster decision-making in the mid-game, and EG realizing what they needed to do to play it perfectly.
It took a little while to turn around, but EG did pick up the win over Meet Your Makers. We're going to go over to Joe and Jason to take us through that 50-minute game.
Thanks a lot, guys, and what a game it was. 50 minutes long, not a very stark contrast to our 2 games today, which were both under half an hour, but talk us through that, because Meet Your Makers, they had a strong start in their level 1, which is something that Yellowpete might want to forget about, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
Well, yeah, we saw Jax come in. You instantly looked over at me like, Jax? Yeah, I like some Jax action. So yeah, we saw a level 1 dive happen. Yellowpete unfortunately got stunned under the turret, stayed a little bit too long, did die. Because of that, Kubon had a giant lead over Wicked, and Wicked couldn't go up against him 1v1, and you saw that throughout most of the game. Until Meet Your Makers had such a lead, they had like a 5,000 to 7,000 gold lead, they just kept forcing Baron over and over, and they weren't able to take it, and that is really where they became, or really where they started to unfold.
Yeah, I mean, talk to us about that. What were they thinking there? I mean, once you can do it once, right? You can go in there, force the fight, lose out a little bit, and then say, well, that didn't really work. Let's push some towers. Let's do something else. But they kept going there time and time against that Baron, and well, we saw what happened. It got turned around.
I think if we answer that question, we have to think back to Meet Your Makers weeks ago, many times, where they would have a 20,000 gold lead. I believe it was versus Lemon Dogs, and they weren't able to close out the game. It took them a long time for that to happen. It took them like 2 or 3 Barons. They've had multiple games like that where they just don't know how to finish. Right there's a perfect example where they didn't know exactly where to go next. They're like, all right, let's keep trying Baron, let's get that, and then start to push for the win. But they had 2 free turrets top lane they could have pushed. They had a middle turret they could have pushed. They had a bottom turret, I believe, that they could have pushed. But they just were focused on that Baron, and because of that, EG were able to keep them off it over and over. Even though EG was so far behind, it didn't matter because they had Baron on their side attacking them. It gave them that opportunity to get them low, to push them away, and constantly pick up a little bit of kills here or there, pick up some objectives here or there, and really close that lead.
Well, thanks a lot, Jason. Solid win. Congratulations once again to Evil Geniuses. We're going to head over to Shox, who's sitting by with Krepo.
Thanks very much, Krepo. I saw you shaking a little bit after that game because it was actually incredibly close, and I think coming off of a win you guys earlier in the day and MYM coming off a loss, was there a danger of being too confident and they got kind of the upper hand there in the beginning?
I don't think we were too confident. Like, coming into the match, we definitely said, like, don't underestimate them. The game basically went wrong when we tried to dive a Jax early. Normally you don't want to dive a Jax because he has flash. This Jax was running Ghost, so it's more predictable where he's going. But then I think we forgot the threat from the TP. We didn't realize Froggen would cancel it. It was just mechanically badly executed dive, set Wicked really far behind, and that like made us have to tiptoe around like an over-level Jax, and them having so much map control during the early game. I have no idea how we did it, but somehow we came back into it.
Yeah, is there a certain moment? Because of course you had a very long dance around Baron at a certain point. That might have been it, or?
I think it actually started on our first base. I had a base with like 700 gold, which normally if you're this far behind you have to invest in a lot of wards. I actually built my Philo Stone there, and then Pete took over and he bought 2 wards for himself. So we kind of survived that window with a limited vision, but it allowed me to constantly have my gold per 10 ticking, and then it allowed me to invest a lot in vision. And Froggen was playing like a monster, doing picks all the time. Like he kept winning those 1v1 matchups where he would pick somebody off, and I would just constantly invest all my money in vision until up to the point where I could actually finish my first support item.
And then you built Mikhail's Crucible, which is very situational. Why did you decide to go for that one? What did it bring?
With the new 3.10 patch, you can build a little different on supports. You're not forced anymore to go for the locket, and it allows people to think a lot more about their builds. I like Mikhail's because it's really good against Jack's AoE stun and Lyssandra's ultimate. It's pretty much a free cleanse, and it allowed, basically, if a Vayne wants to survive a Lysandra, she has to run cleanse, but then the damage just kills her, so she still has to run barrier anyways. But Mikhail's Crucible allows you to give the cleanse to the Vayne, and combine that with a QSS, you can survive those team fights. Anybody who gets caught then gets cleansed out, and it's really, really hard for the enemy to predict as well, because you want to focus that one target that is crowd controlled, but if he suddenly is released from that crowd control by something you don't expect, it can turn a tide in a team fight.
So very useful for you in this game. Is there anything else about the 3.10 patch that you say as a support, wow, that's really nice, or the disappearance of the Runic Bulwark that you say, damn, I miss it? Or?
I never really built Bulwark myself because it was too expensive. I like the new locket. You can still build it on some supports. I really like the change to the towers as well. It's no longer the case where 2v1 lanes or 2v1 lanes proceed in the same manner every time. There's more room for personal playstyle and whatever, so I like 3.10 patch. I like it a lot more than 3.9.
All right, so that's good for you guys. 2 wins here, of course, in the process, dealing the killing blow to MYM's playoff dreams, but that's the name of the game, of course. So for you, especially, what does this mean if you're able to go 5-0 in the next couple of days? Because you've been there, you've been at the World Playoffs, you've been there in Los Angeles on that big stage. How much does it mean? How much do you want it?
We just, it doesn't, regardless of whether like a win gets you a standing up or down, or it doesn't matter, you still want it for the confidence. You just want to get to the point where you're feeling on a roll and you want to get the 5-0 and then go into Gamescom like super strong as a team. But we still have to watch out for stuff like this, like early game, like we screwed up really, really hard, and we need to stay really focused, assess all the threats, and just play game by game.
How important is baking pancakes in the morning for that winning recipe?
I'm afraid we'll have to eat pancakes tomorrow again, and if we do, then it's pancakes on the next day as well, and then Gamescom's getting pretty close, so it'll be a lot of pancakes in a lot of short time.
Not so bad eating a lot of pancakes, actually. Okay.
First world problems.
First world problems. Thank you very much, Krepo. All right, we're going to take a brief intermission.